You watch television and you're watching things for entertainment, and people are murdering and killing, and that murdering and killing stimulates entertainment, and then people go do things for money. And when you see this progression of this irrational bad brain activity that's very it's one George guy I talked to at the little girl's birthday party, it's a long time ago, because now they're both, my daughter and her are both in their 20s. That was 2012. It's 13 years ago. Oh my gosh, that's horrible. But yeah, he sat there and talked about Mexicans, at a Mexican birthday party. He talked about how Mexicans shouldn't be raising kids. They spend more time worried about their lowriders and their children and all that stuff. And I was like, they're not fit to be parents and stuff. And I tried to talk them into, hey, man, before, just focus on, doing the right thing and being the right kind of person before we start judging who should be parents and stuff. And then we talked about stuff, and he said, well, he's in the National Guard. He went down to serve in Mexico, and they asked him if he went to war between Mexico and the United States, who would you fight for? And he said, well, the United States. And it's like, no, just don't go to war. That's your family. And you have these people that say they're your family, and then they have you killing your family. Okay, over money. Which, that's not the ways of Jesus Christo. That's not forgive, didn't trespass, love one another, train of faithful peace. That's not get everybody to believe in the Lord and have faith in God and live His peace. That's wrong, right? And you'll find, okay, with people, when you talk about afraid, you see that one movie, the people like to hunt people down and put fear in them and stuff like that. When you look at animals, right? Animals are not human beings. They can't domesticate. They can't be farmers. They can't do things to provide for the family, build shelter, be kind, provide, protect, have an eternal, perfect life like Job, where you care for people and you understand. But you'll find that, like with animals, when they're strong, they're not afraid. They're not afraid of you. And unless you present a threat to them, they don't want to inflict fear in you. If they want to eat you, they're going to eat you like a shark, right? But they're animals, and they do. Hold on, Betsy. They'll do their thing, and okay, go let the cat in the house. Let's go let her in the house. But they'll do their thing. But they're not animals. It's not using fear to inflict fear and other things. They'll usually hunt down something, eat it, because that's what they do, right? And so the only time they'll inflict fear is like, trying to protect their cub from a hunter that's trying to kill the cub and things like that. But that's just like a natural instinct to stay alive as a species, and so on and so forth. So when you get people that are psychotic and sadistic and have just become disgusting, okay, you're talking about people that feed off of fear. And so therefore, that comes from fear itself, So people like that are very fearful people. And then they'll tell you they're not. I'm not afraid of anything. Okay, so, and if they want to, they take on somebody, and then that somebody can kill them, right? Then well, that shows that they're great, and they had great enemies and all that crazy shit like that. But after being here, most of them, especially since 2011 to 2025, surrounded by the most sensational, amazing train killers in the whole world in Sierra Vista and here in Las Cruces and at Fort Bliss, they have a fear of not being able to inflict fear in others and kill and feed off of that patheticness. So that's like a fear that most of us that are good people, that are kind and courageous and loving, we can't fathom being that way. And I told you that when uh, I was there in Sierra Vista, they thought I had bad brain activity because I couldn't fathom spying on people, sexually grooming and manipulating people, and making people feel, that this is the only way they could get comfort through sexuality and stuff, because everything was so out of whack and they were acting like fearful, aggressive, violent, abusive animals. And they thought I had brain chemical problems because I couldn't conceive being as bad and disgusting as these people have become. And just because you can't conceive spying on people and sexually abusing people and manipulating them and putting them in horrible situations because you're selfish and jealous and aggressive and violent, doesn't mean you have brain chemical problems. It's the exact opposite. That you're the most sound and rational person to keep people safe from people that are self-destructive. And like I told you, we're dealing with a lot of people that are like, I can't fuck her, nobody can fuck her, and lots of death, suicide things and stuff like that. And that's just horrible, If you can't get violent and kill over things that make no sense. And, managing your herds and protecting your children from animals that can hunt down and eat your children. That's just being an intelligent person. That's just making sure that you stay alive and you're okay. It's not being paranoid. It's you be respectful, but you can't be respectful of mosquitoes, especially if other human beings have done fucked up shit and messed up the ecosystem. You're going to have to find ways to repel the mosquitoes or kill the mosquitoes, or they can literally kill you with disease and other things and stuff like that. So you can't be nice. You can't sit there, it's just doing what the mosquitoes do. Yeah, they will kill you. I've seen them bring down cows. Okay, and it can be done. But a lot of that has to typically do it with human beings bringing things out of whack or putting animals where they should not be to try to feed themselves, knowing you damn well you shouldn't have a cow in certain areas where the mosquitoes are so prevalent that they will make the animal miserable, kill it, and then you can't even use the meat to feed your family and your children. So you have to be intelligent and humble and understand how to do things, when to do things right, when you're doing things wrong, so on and so forth. And so it's interesting though, but it's very difficult living here in Las Cruces, in the epicenter of scientific research, with a bunch of psychotic, schizophrenic sociopaths that have a feeding frenzy off of this. And when you turn on the TV, I remember I didn't watch those, but that Pinhead and all these all those gross and disgusting movies. I think people try to show that they are entertained by them and get into the fit in and feel tough, And it's kind of funny because I'm like the sweetest, kindest hearted person, hate that kind of stuff and everything like that. And a lot of these badasses, I'm a killer for the cartels, and they're scared of me. I think the main reason they're scared of me is, I can get technology to understand and live the Lord's Prayer and be like King David, and then that stops all their fun as they see it, And I'm like, if you think terrorizing people and making kids' lives miserable and scaring them and making them, if you think that's fun, you're just a sick fuck, and they need to come up with a way for robotics to isolate, contain, and just put you out of your misery. That's just the way I would perceive it. I'm different than Judah Krishnamurti, but I'm pretty sure if me and Judah were talking, he'd probably go, yeah. That doesn't seem unreasonable or irrational or psychotic. It seems like a kind man trying to protect people from being abused by people that lack compassion, empathy, respect, or any mercy. So I understand what Earl's saying. Thanks, Judu. I love you too. Okay, so you understand. We look at things a little differently when we size it up and explain it a little differently. But when you get right down to the meat and potatoes and the peas and carrots and the brass tacks, because there is no tax on brass, we got this. We like, a lot of people, well, you're very different. No, we just express ourselves differently because people manipulate people with words, and it's hard to go through the manipulation and say, this is what you're doing. I don't manipulate people with words. I try to help free people with words from people that manipulate people with words. I'm a very kind person. Okay, guys, I love you very much, man. Hang in there. Peace.